Welcome back to the final Midweek Modern Craftsman of this year. I believe this will be the final one. I'm not sure when they come out. I've been trying to catch up and squirrel some midweeks away for the holiday season and taking a little bit of time off. So this might be the last one. This might be the first one of next year. Regardless, it is somewhat a recap as to what I did this year, where I'm looking to go, just some overall bigger picture lessons that I've learned. I feel that this past year has been responsible for some of the biggest changes that I've made in my life, in my business, with my mental health. Even though it wasn't intentional, it wasn't intentional. That's the direction that it went. So I'm hoping that I can take some of that information, some of that experience, and translate that into some information and just some perspective that might help you as you move forward in life, progress in your career. You can take what works for you and leave the rest behind. Just because it worked for me does not mean that that is the end all be all of all information. But I think that after this past year and really getting some firsthand insight as to what people experience and how they struggle with a lot of similar things that I've struggled with over the years, I've realized that we are all struggling with something, that we are all very much the same in life and in business. And it may not be the exact same struggles, right? We may not have the exact same problems. Sorry, I have something on my microphone. But we are all dealing with something. We are all looking to hurdle some challenges in our lives. So that's what this podcast is about. Just a yearly recap, some perspective, hopefully a little bit of guidance, and just some bigger picture lessons learned over the year. A lot of this is due to me focusing more time on podcasts, more time on consulting, more time on really digging into not only my business, but others' businesses to understand how they work, why they may not work, and just really setting down a different path, one that has been somewhat unfamiliar to me, and sorting out and navigating that path, which has been challenging to say the least, but also very gratifying. So to start off, let's touch on embracing fulfillment over security. Last year, I had a couple of jobs that were really, really trying on me, not because of my own doing, but just the relationships within those projects. And towards the end of the year, really focusing on what went wrong, why they went wrong, how I need to be an advocate for my clients, how I need to be an advocate for my trades, how the industry still has some big issues and why those things need to change. And even after last year came to a close and this year began, and through honestly a month or two ago, dealing with headaches and issues and hiccups because of things that were completely out of my control, and wanting to avoid that and wanting to prepare people with the tools that they may need to avoid things that I've ran into or things that I've struggled with, especially as an owner operator. I feel like the last year I've really owned that. I understand that's where I live. That's my bread and butter. That's why I got into this industry. And that's why I will remain in this industry. And those, for the most part, not that my experience and this podcast and what I speak about is really reserved only for those people who are owner operators, but a lot of my experience is in that world, is through that lens. So a lot of what I want to help people with are things that I struggled in that aspect of my career. And yeah, I have experience elsewhere, and there's certain jobs that I do where I'm less hands-on. I'm not swinging a hammer quite as much, but I think that, there's a balance between the two. And I think that when you approach it from the way that I have been looking to do as of late, it just creates more success, more enjoyment, more fulfillment. And I think that with that, the security comes. So the reason I got into business, looking back on it, much of that was that I didn't want to go work for somebody. I lacked the confidence to go work for a bigger firm. I didn't know my own ability. I didn't feel that I had the tools that I need to represent another company. Um, and I know that that may not make sense to somebody that's starting your own company requires less self-confidence, but that was the route for me. I figured I could learn on my own. I didn't have to ask people questions. I could figure out everything that I had to do and educate myself and kind of fake it until I made it. And it took a long time. There was a lot of struggles along with that, and I'm still continuing to learn. But I'm sure that there's a lot of people who can also relate to that. So getting into this industry in that regard, and then traveling down the path of, hey, now I have a family, we have more expenses. How do we survive? How do we account for our future? How do we plan for our future? How do we position ourselves to be successful and stable and create some security for ourselves through what I'm doing? Created challenges. Like, my business model didn't necessarily work. I didn't understand the business model. I didn't understand business in general. And it's taken a long time to understand how and what and why you need to do to make money, the size and the scale and the scope of jobs that I take on. It seems, I'm making money. This is all profit because I don't have overhead, but I was not accounting for all of the extra hours that I was putting into it. I just had a consulting call last week where it's like, yeah, our margins are X amount, but that's based on the job hours, and there's no account for anything that's happening on the back end, or estimating, or entertaining leads, building your marketing for your business, and all of that needs to be accounted for. So what you feel are really great margins in reality aren't. You're somewhat lying to yourself, and that's what I did for a long time. So I wanted to create a model. I wanted to create a business, and I wanted to be able to help people find a way to establish a business that's more fulfilling. And I think that as I've done that, as I have dug more into my business and what makes it work, initially I was afraid of peeling back and taking this deep dive because I needed to generate the income of working. And I think that when I began to actually peel back, and I actually began to slow down and analyze my business and the numbers and what other people like me are doing, I realized that there's a lot more security in that, in understanding what you're doing and being more intentional and deliberate and ensuring that you're not just feeding a machine or chasing your tail. And with that slowing down, and with that stepping backwards, you are actually going to create a lot of growth for yourself in the future. But you have to be financially stable enough to be able to take 2 steps back to take 5 steps forward. So I did step back from a lot of the jobs that I was doing and really start focusing on jobs that were better suited for me. So in order to understand that, I had to dive into my business. I had to dive into all of my processes. I had to dive into my marketing aspect of my business, who my client was, who my existing client was, right? I spent 10 years creating this client base that I was realizing wasn't serving me as well as I thought it was. It was just kind of keeping me busy. So what started as, hey, this isn't really making me happy, this is frustrating me, this is stressing me out, I'm going to take a step backwards and I'm going to analyze what's going on, and I'm going to dive into my business. Ended up leading into me finding a lot of clarity and finding some big gaping holes within my business and what I needed to do and how I needed to make money and how I made money by actually doing a little bit less work, and how that benefited me as an owner operator and as a small contractor with a lower overhead. The less money that I can spend, and the better my margins, the more money I actually make at the end of the year. So finding a way to do that, and by stepping back, um, and really focusing on what was going to make me happy and what was going to create a lifestyle for me that was less stressful than it was as an owner operator, really led me to where I am today, which is one of the best places I've been. And I'm not really even speaking financially. It has been financially, yes, it's been more lucrative than what I had been doing in years past, kind of chasing my tail. But not even that, as much as just from a happiness perspective, not feeling as though I was treading water, not feeling as though I couldn't catch my breath, I couldn't get my feet under me. So creating this business and this lifestyle that's actually generating income, making me money, profitable, sustainable, but also doesn't require 70, 80 hours of me every week. Um, it the catalyst and the driving force behind that was trying to find a more fulfilling career path, a more fulfilling project base, customer base, and not knowing if there would be security behind that, right? Where would that take me? And what actually ended up happening was I found it to be more security from a mental health perspective, but also a financial perspective. So for me, that's a massive win-win, right? I took a chance. I went out on a limb, and I decided I was going to slow down in order to really refine what I was doing and find out how to make money. And in turn, that made me money in business, but then also it created an opportunity for me to share with all of you what I've learned, and somewhat of what I've known, but just I wasn't in a place that I felt I could slow down enough to implement these things. So obviously, Nick and I put a pre-construction course out. Obviously, Nick and I just put out a marketing and lead gen course. All of these courses are established and built off of the years of experience we've had, the podcasts that we've had, but also a lot of the last year's things that we've put into place that we knew had to be put in place, but we had to create these systems, these processes, these standard operating procedures for a business. And while doing that, it was like, well, we're working together doing this. Why don't we share this with other people who we know, if we're struggling with it, there's so many other people who are struggling with it. So why not share a lot of that with you? And doing that has been extremely fulfilling. Having consulting calls with clients has been extremely fulfilling. Being able to help people and establish that business confidence and system processes, or somebody, enrolling in a course and it changing the trajectory and transforming their business and their life, has been amazing. It's been way more fulfilling than I anticipated. And we're still small enough that we're still helping people on a day-to-day, case-by-case basis. So I took a step back. I faced a lot of my fears. I really dug into my business as an owner-operator and understanding what made me money, and then focusing my marketing and branding efforts on that. And it's been massive for me. Another big lesson this year is the power of preparation and the foundation. And again, this is true for business. This is true for marriage. This is true for the podcast, my being a father, riding my dirt bike, running, our coursework, whatever it is in business, especially as owner operators, especially as small businesses, we want to prepare. And when we first start a business, it's slow enough that we can take the time to prepare for every job. And then as we grow more confident, as business changes, as things get more hectic and we have people working for us and subcontractors and more clients, I feel that we spread ourselves thinner and thinner and we don't have the time to prepare for every job. And we have enough confidence at this point to say, hey, we can figure this out. We can do this. But we are not taking the necessary time to prepare. We're going into it saying, hey, we can figure this out on the fly. And to me, we get it done and we get it done well and we get it done with great results, but it's not creating the most efficient use of our time. It is not creating profitability and margins that are really maximized to our full potential. And I learned that over the past couple of years, where it's like, yeah, you're going to hop in from one job to the next, to the next, to the next. And without a proper pre-construction in place, without proper planning, without proper communication, and taking the time to set the expectations on a project beforehand, even if financially the job is a success, a lot of times there were communication issues with the clients, or what they anticipated or expected was different, whether it was quality, timeline, price, level of finish, even on my end, right? Where it's like, I didn't anticipate having to do it to this extent. So where it was costing me money. So I've learned over the past few years, but then even more so this year by developing that pre-construction course, like the value of preparation in our industry for every project, to be able to take the time to set the expectations, to outline them, to develop them, to consult and build these projects, leads to success from a financial perspective, from again, a mental health and a stress perspective, from a communication expectation perspective. And it allows you to go into every project guaranteeing that you will be successful. It's the same thing with life. It's the same thing with my business, with my family. We need to create more time for ourselves. We need to create time to be able to prepare, whether it's preparing yourself for every day that you wake up and taking the time to make a healthy breakfast, make a healthy lunch, do what you need to do, take some time for yourself to decompress in the morning instead of waking up and going 100 miles an hour, feeling that you're behind schedule, feeling that your stomach's in your throat, needing to run to the store to grab this before you get to the job while you have people waiting on you. It's not conducive for a sustainable business model. You end up feeling that you're behind the curve and that you're constantly chasing yourself, and you are reacting to everything within your job, within your life, rather than being proactive and planning and putting the preparation in place. And I even learned this just recently. I retoured my MCL some and strained my calf muscle riding my dirt bike, and I had been pretty consistently running, like more so than I had in a while. And a few weeks off, it was maybe 3.5 weeks off, where I got on the stationary bike and I wasn't running. Getting back to it was harder, way harder than I had anticipated, right? 6 months of training, getting injured, 3 weeks off, and then getting back to it. I'm not back to square one, but really challenging to get going again. Feeling that you should just be able to pick up where you left off and it should be no issues because of 3 months. And I realized that, like, you have to continue preparing. You have to continue working on that foundation. And as soon as you stop, it doesn't completely crumble, but that foundation is compromised, and it takes a lot of work. It's easier to maintain the foundation through preparation, right? Little incremental bits of preparation and maintenance to that foundation are going to be far more valuable for you, and far easier and more efficient for you than taking a break and then having to restructure. And again, I learned that even just through this little running injury, where it's like, yeah, 6 months leading up to this, everything going great, continuing to make strides, moving forward, getting better, getting stronger. And then I take 3 weeks off and it's like, damn, I'm back here. Like, I'm back to, month 4, which is crazy because I continued to exercise. I wasn't running. I was riding a stationary bike, and it wasn't quite as often. And obviously, I was being more delicate with my knee and my calf, but it played a huge impact on it. And I think that those principles transcend every aspect of your life and your business. Another big lesson for me this year was community and collaboration drive growth. And a lot of this was through podcast relationships, through consulting, and through these courses. I have found personally that I have grown more this year as a business owner, as a podcast host, as an educator, as a consultant, as a father, as a husband than I have in any other year of my life. And I didn't go into this year with that being my primary goal. I somewhat fell into this just because I saw opportunity and because I was becoming more and more fulfilled by doing this. And I realized that much of my own career, right, working for clients and having my sub pool and my team, I was in my own little bubble. And although I was able to educate, I was able to promote the trades, promote my craft, I was able to really create great experiences for my clients, I realized that I was very limited as far as what my reach could be. And as I started offering more consulting, and as I dedicated a day a week to podcast consulting, coursework, and all things social, modern craftsman, consulting, education, and took, one less day a week for TRG Home Concepts, I realized how much growth I was experiencing for myself in my life and in my business, through my collaboration, through my community engagement, through the mentorship that I was basically creating for people, again, which wasn't really my intention. And then I realized when people started reaching out, like I just had another email come in where somebody was like, would you be interested in becoming a mentor? I've just started my business. This is what I do. I don't really have a ton of people that I can lean on. And I didn't realize that that's what I was doing, or what I was promoting, or the service and the value that I was providing for people. When you are fully immersed in this business, when you're fully immersed in the podcast aspects of things, creating these courses, you sometimes lose sight of the people on the ground and who you're helping. And there's so much growth internally, and this is all stuff that we've never done before. So I have become a better teacher. I have become a better co-host. I have become a better business owner, a better husband, father, mentor through what I've been doing on Tuesdays, and through engaging with my community, boots on the ground with my community, this social community, this educational community, this podcast community, which I didn't ever foster as much as I should have, right? TRG Home Concepts is how I made money. That really defined who I was for a very long time. And that's where most of my effort went, because it paid my bills. And it wasn't until I started pulling back from that sum and saying, hey, I'm going to take a day a week and I'm really going to focus on this aspect of my business, to be able to help these people and to be able to carve time aside for these people, that I feel I grew as a person, which was really interesting, because that was not my goal for 2024. That was really not something that was on my radar. It was just, hey, I need to create a way that I can afford to stay in the office one day a week, work on the business, work on the podcast, help these people who have been reaching out to me for help. And it really transformed my life, and how I view where I stand in this community and the potential that I have to help people and really make a shift in this industry. Um, and I say that as humbly as I possibly can, because I don't I don't feel that what I'm doing is necessarily different than anyone else. I don't think that I am unique in a sense that I'm the only person who can do this, but I know that over the past 10 years, we've built a platform to stand on. And we have the ability to reach more people than others do. And there's a lot of people who are in our same boat, but I like to think that we're doing something different, and that is a huge goal and a huge motivator and a huge driving factor for Nick and I, is to not become stale, not to become redundant, to continue pushing the envelope, and to be offering some unique insight, perspective, and experience that is not what other people are doing. Um, One, I guess, which would be the last bigger thing, is balance and perspective. And I know that this is something I focused on in years past, and trying to find the balance in life, business. And I found that more this year than years prior. And again, it wasn't as though I set out to create balance in my life. Maybe slightly by saying, hey, I'm going to find a way to spend Tuesdays in the office and devote them just to podcast, and education and course building. So it obviously is directly related to that, but that wasn't my intent by saying I'm going to get in the office one day a week. I'm going to devote a day a week to Modern Craftsman. But it created so much balance in my life. It created so many efficiencies in my life by taking a day to plan, to prepare, to inventory what life looks like, what business looks like, what decisions that I made or processes that I put in place, systems are impacting every aspect of my life and business. And if they've been beneficial, if they need to be tweaked more, if I need to forego using them entirely. For 15 years, it was go, go, go. Again, more so reactionary than being proactive. I didn't have enough time to really do much more than react in real time. I didn't have enough free time, or idle time, to be able to prepare and really put a plan in place for every day of my life. And the last time I could recall doing that was when I first started in business. And I guess it was just lack of work, lack of responsibility, no children, less financial liability on my end, where it's like, yeah, I had a job coming up and I was going to start it in 2 weeks, and I had plenty of time to get everything together to account for that and really put a game plan in place what I wanted to do each day. And as an owner operator, as somebody who's handling and wearing many different hats, you're serving as a super, you're serving as a PM, as a coordinator, as an accountant, as an estimator, as a go-getter. It's very difficult to find the time to prepare on top of that. And it's really difficult to find any sort of manageable balance within your life. And I found that this year, more than any, I've found that balance. I think, continuing with hobbies, continuing to exercise, continuing to try and be healthy, both physically and mentally, has created a lot of balance. Finding alternative means of income has created a lot of balance. Just prioritizing some service work, helping other people, devoting time to something that seems to be more fulfilling than delivering clients a really great experience and really great project. Not that that's not fulfilling, and not that I don't absolutely love that, but I'm spending 4 to 6 months on one family trying to create that experience for them. And if I were to think about, right, that makes me feel really good. That's where a lot of my identity and was the driving force behind what I did, more so than anything else, was that I wanted to create an experience for my clients. I wanted to make them happy. I wanted to please them. And if that's taking me 4 to 6 months, right, I have 2 to 3 opportunities a year to do that. I could probably have a much bigger impact and create more self gratitude doing that for 1,000 people a year through the podcast, 2,000, 10,000, 100,000, 500,000. The amount of what I would say service work that I can do, the amount of gratitude that I can get by helping people through the podcast, through coursework, through consulting, through conversations on the podcast, just putting my head together with Nick and other industry professionals, through the relationships I have with companies like Anderson, Builder Trend, all of our partners, right, over the years, Contractor Coalition, what I can do and how many people I can impact through that, if helping people and creating a really great experience and pleasing people is what I look at that as service work, regardless of whether you're being compensated for it or not. Your main goal in that business is to help people, to make their lives easier, to better their lives, for them to make more money, be able to spend more time with their family, create better efficiencies, more success in life and business. I can get so much more out of that and create so much more gratitude in my life and accomplishment in my life through that than working for 2 or 3 clients a year and trying to make everything right and all of these moving parts. Not that I don't have to do that, and that's still my primary means of income, but I can put less weight and less stake in that if a project doesn't go exactly according to plan, if I make a mistake, if the client slipped through the cracks, and I didn't vet them correctly, and I have to deal with somebody for 4 months, all of my all of my happiness, and I struggle to say that because I don't think that that's necessarily the case now, but for a long time, much of my happiness was dictated by the success of my jobs and the experience my clients had within jobs. That was where I put all of my efforts, and much of my happiness was dictated by my jobs. And if my self-esteem, my confidence can be generated elsewhere, a lot of my happiness, my self-assurance can be generated through the podcast, through consulting, through this coursework, through helping people create success in their life, create more free time in their life, create more profitability in their life. If that's where most of my success and my happiness and that self-confidence and esteem can come from, then I don't have to put all of my eggs in the baskets of these clients' jobs, right? I don't, if there's a troublesome, right? For example, this job last year, I was trying to make this job as good as it could be for my clients based on issues with designers, based on materials that were provided to me. And I wanted them to be happy. I wanted to feel that I had done my best. I wanted to bring a product to market that I was truly proud of, and I was finding it really difficult with the situation that I was in. And if I would have had something else in my life to generate a lot of this pride, this dignity, this self assurance, and this self confidence, I probably would have just been okay with, hey, I'm doing the best that I can do. It's completely out of my control. I'm going to keep moving forward. I'll do what I have to contractually, but I'm not going to hang every aspect of who I am on this project. And I think that it probably would have been a different outcome. And maybe the overall quality of the job would not have been as great, but I would have gotten a lot more sleep. I wouldn't have worried so much. I wouldn't have stressed so much. I wouldn't have killed myself to try and protect everyone in this relationship minus myself. And I think that having something else in my life that can generate some of this accomplishment and just self-worth has really been great for me and for business, because now I'm not relying on my clients and their experience and the product that I'm building for them to dictate all of my happiness. I can focus on things that matter more to me right now, like my family, my hobbies, my mental health, my physical health, my children, free time, my future. And that's been really, really nice. And again, I guess it's not what I set out to do this year. And it's been a byproduct of everything that I put into place, but it was not my initial goal. So by sitting down and inventorying what this last year looked like and comparing it to the year before and looking to what I want to do moving forward, it's much easier to see now. You know, they say hindsight's 2020. It's much easier to see now everything that I did and what I put in place and how that affected my life and how that affected my business. And again, I think that this is valuable to share. This is valuable insight, because it wasn't as though I started 2024 and I said, this is what I want to do. This is where I need to be. I need to prioritize these things, and this is how I'm going to get there. It was more organic than that. It was probably less intentional than that, but that's neither here nor there. I moved from spot A to spot C, and I can now see what that path looks like and how I moved and what decisions affected the overall trajectory of my life and my business. And there's a lot more clarity now than there was throughout the year while I was in it. And sometimes taking that step backwards provides that. Another thing that I would recommend to all of you small business owners, owner-operators, and something that over the course of the last year, and I guess just getting to a point where it's starting to add up, is to start investing in your future early. Start putting money away, whether it's monthly, whether it's taken out of your business checking account, even if you're a single member LLC, and rather than drawing a payroll, you're taking out, $1,000 a month and putting it into some sort of savings plan for yourself, maxing out your IRA every single year. It may seem difficult, but there's many tax benefits and tax deferments that are helpful for you from an accounting perspective and a tax liability perspective. But even more so than that, we don't have people planning for our retirement. There's nobody looking out for us to be able to retire. And it's really, really hard with what we do. We're not making millions of dollars a year. A lot of times we're struggling to be able to pay for our lives, our businesses, our family, and putting money above and beyond that seems really difficult. But if you can find a way to do that, or build that into your pricing, or pull that out of your account monthly without knowing about it, it's going to get to a point where it creates a lot of freedom in your life because you're not relying on you swinging a hammer as the only means of income for you, right? So maybe you don't have time to find another way to make more money. But if you can have your money make you money, if you could save a little bit each month and you can invest that, it's not going to be a ton of money, but you will get to a point where it starts to add up and you start to actually generate income on that money that you invested. And it just frees you up that little bit where it's like, I didn't have enough this month. It was a slow month, or this job didn't go according to plan. And when all of your eggs are in one basket and you're relying on just your income, your clients to provide you with the financial stability, if you can have another way that your money is making you money, it's like a second income for your household, a third income if your wife works, a fourth income if your wife works and invests. It's something that my wife and I did early on. And it wasn't a lot, and it's still not a lot every year, right? We're a middle-class family. We have 2 kids. Our lifestyle is not, it's definitely not lavish, but we spend money that we want to spend, and we have things and we have nice things. But we live within our means. That being said, it's not that, we don't have an extra $200,000 to throw into savings every year. So we put what we can into savings. My wife pulls it out of her account immediately. I max out my Roth every year. I then put any additional savings that we have into investment accounts for our kids and for ourselves. And it's out of sight, out of mind. It's money that we do not touch. But after 15 years, it's getting to a point where it's actually starting to make money. And month to month, it's not that we're relying less on the money that we're making in our own careers, but we now have this third income that's supplementing what we do. And the reason I tell you this is because it's not too late to start doing that, and it will take some time. But if you can do it, for me, what it's done more so than anything is I sit down every month and I look at our finances and I look at where we stand. And to be able to have an additional income through our savings on the interest, but also to not be spending that money, it's finally getting to the point where it's creating so much peace of mind for me. And I have so much less stress financially in my life because I know if something comes up, or if we run into an issue, or if there's a slow month, or if my wife is looking to switch jobs, or something breaks in our house, or we need to spend money on something that was unanticipated, it's not as though Rachel and I are like, well, we're just going to have to work more, or we're going to have to borrow money. There's that safety net there of the savings, but also the safety net of that extra income that you're producing through the interest on your money. And that for me has created so much mental health, just like a safety net for me. It has reduced my anxiety so much to know that, yeah, we're okay. Every month we're okay. Starting your business out and then having children and buying a house and then growing your business, it seems like you just spend and it gets more expensive, and you work and you make more, but it's more expensive. Putting money away and investing money has been something for me where it's like, 15 years down the road, we're finally at a point where it's like, now we have something working towards us while everything else is becoming more expensive, while we just spend more, life's more difficult. Every hiccup, financial hiccup that we run into, or roadblock that we run into, seems to be more than the last one. We now have something that's working with us, that for me has just it's eased my anxiety so much, to know that we have somebody and something working for us that we don't have. I don't have to swing a hammer to make money doing that. So that's not to give you any sort of insight as to what my financial capacity looks like or, where we stand. It's just something that it's going to take time and it's really difficult to do. And it seems as though you're not going to be able to do it with the cost of everything these days. And it's like, well, we don't have an extra, 10 cents to rub together. But if you start to do it and it's out of sight, out of mind, and you can create a lifestyle and a budget with account for saving money in 10 years and 15 years, it's going to change your life a lot. Even if it's just a little bit, right? Even if it's an extra $500,000 a month, that's going to cover a lot of those little things that probably stress you out a lot right now, where it's like, damn, I just popped a tire. Now I got to spend $350 on a tire. And it's like, I didn't feel like spending that right now. It's the middle of Christmas season. We just spent however many $1,000s on gifts for everyone. I can't afford to replace my HVAC right now. So it's things like that it just, for me, it just gives me peace of mind. It really quells my anxiety. And I know that there's always something else there working for us. I do have anxiety, so I don't look at my savings every week, every month. It's when I sit down and I do my budget and I'm looking at quarterlies and all that stuff that I'll look into it. So I'm not seeing the day-to-day up, down, but over the years and years, it continues to grow and we're not touching those accounts. And again, the mindset is that we're going to put that there. And if we ever need it, it's there for us. But the goal is never to touch it. So that saying it's there if we need it is just to get you over the hump and start putting it in there. And then once it's in there, you've already created a budget and a lifestyle that doesn't need that money. So you survive on what you have. You're saving month to month. You're continuing to save. So you're squirreling that away, but then you're also making the interest on that. And again, that's something for me that when you're self-employed, nobody's helping you in that respect. Nobody is planning for retirement. It's only you. Nobody's planning for your kids' education. So doing that is going to be really impactful for your lifestyle, especially if you're younger right now, but it is never too late to do that. So that was my last big thing that I didn't know how I was going to integrate that into my conversation because I don't want to sit here and give you financial advice and I don't want to paint this picture that I'm like financially well off that I don't have to worry about money. We're very middle class, probably very similar to you. We both work, we have 2 kids. It never seems like it's enough. But this is something that has really helped me over the years, and it took a long time. It was a struggle. It was a struggle. It was always hard. Sometimes it's still hard, but we're finally, 10, 15 years into it, starting to see some of the benefits of that in a more substantial manner as far as making money on your money. And it's just been really, really calming for me. So if that's something that you could take away from this podcast, it's been super helpful for me. And it doesn't take any more of my time. It's not investing in a multifamily house where it's like, well, this is creating more work for me as well. Yeah, there's more tax benefits to that, and you probably make a little bit more money, but it also demands more time of you. So this is a way that doesn't take me any more time. I have a financial advisor and super easy, super convenient. So that's something that I would definitely recommend that all of you do. Well, that's going to wrap up this podcast. I appreciate everyone hanging around. I appreciate everyone who's invested and enrolled in these courses. If you have any questions with them, let me know. We have the paint course, which I'm actually going to be adding some stuff to. That's basically a paint and prep course where it's, hey, these are all the materials that I use for 95% of our paint projects: primers, prep products, ceiling paint, wall paint. I'm going to add some documents to that, which I created, which are basically how I estimate a paint job, what my numbers look like for a paint job, and then after that job's done, I teach you how to figure out your margins based on overhead, cost of goods sold, basically your net profit on that job. The only thing that's not accounted for at that point would be your income tax. But basically determine what your margins are based on your markups, your cost of goods sold, your revenue, how many hours went into the job, your overhead, what your labor burden, what you're paying somebody. So it'll be a really comprehensive article that I think will supplement that well. We have the marketing and lead gen course, which we just put out. If you're interested in that, that is basically $200 off until January 1st. So if you're interested in that, which to me at $300, I don't know how you could not do that. It's just such a huge value, but come January 1st, that's going to go up to $500, and that's where that course will remain. And to be honest, it's worth more than that with what's in it and what it will do for your business and the templates and the takeaways and all the information in there. But that is for sale until the end of the year. And then we still have the pre-con course, and we will be adding more to that as we move forward, and some feedback that we have gotten throughout that. That one's a little bit more expensive, but we also offer a payment plan on that. But that's the type of course where it's like, hey, we're going to invest this much money and we'll make that back the first pre-con that we sell. And from there on out, you're refining your systems and really just printing money, an alternative income stream for your business that is allowing you to differentiate yourself, to create a unique value proposition for your clients that not everyone in your market is providing or offering. And then also just securing those jobs and leads prior to signing a work contract. All of those courses, I believe Drew's working right now uploading them to the website. So if you click on the courses tab, there'll be those 3 courses. We also have a bunch of free templates, pre-construction agreement template. We have a labor burden calculator. We have email pitch, and all of that can also be found on the extras tab of the website. You can also go on to Modern Craftsman Pod Instagram at Modern Craftsman Pod. The link tree's on there. Everything that you need is on the link tree, and then you can also click in the highlights. We have, if we have any workshops coming up, webinars coming up, if there are free templates, and then also the courses through there. And then if you have any questions or you have trouble finding them, shoot me an email, Tyler at trghomeconcepts.com. I am done with consulting calls for this year. I'm going to push the rest of the inquiries until after January 2nd, which I believe might be a Thursday. So it'll probably be the following week that I'll be getting back and getting to it. So if you're interested in a consulting call, shoot me an email, Tyler at trghomeconcepts.com. What I've been doing for them, it's a 1-hour consulting call. We discuss if there's specifics that you want to get into before. Hop on a StreamYard recording. We'll record the call, and then I will follow up with you with basically a recap of the call, all the key takeaways, and then some things that I would like to see you implement into your business. So some takeaways, some action items for you. So that's what the consulting calls look like. So if you want to do more than one, we can set a date where those action items should be put into place, and then we can review and see where they've gone. If it's just a one-time thing, again, it's just a recap of our conversation, so you don't have to take notes. I can also get you the transcript if you want, and then just the takeaways and what I think you should be working on. So that's what those consulting calls look like. If you're interested in them, shoot me an email, Tyler at trghomeconcepts.com. In the meantime, I appreciate everyone. I appreciate all of our sponsors. Right now we have Velux, Builder Trend, Anderson, everyone else that supported us, the Contractors Coalition Summit. That's another thing, right? If you have not signed up for that, we have a couple of events coming up, one in Omaha, and then we have a happy hour at in Vegas. So if you are going to Las Vegas this year for the Builder Show, you can let's see the exact date. So Thursday, June 19th is going to be the event in Omaha, which will be really cool. But if you're going to be at IBS, which is in Vegas again this year, which is much better in my opinion than Orlando, we're going to have a happy hour. So you can grab a ticket for that. It is Monday, February 24th, 6 to 8 p.m., the Nomad at Park Las Vegas. So if you go onto the website, which is contractorscoalitionsummit.com, you can check out the Instagram as well. You can hop on there, grab yourself a ticket for that happy hour and come hang with all of us. Brad, Nick, Morgan, will all be there. But again, that is Monday, February 24th, 6 to 8 p.m., Nomad, Las Vegas. I don't think the tickets are sold at the door, so you're going to have to register beforehand. I hope that everyone has a great holiday. Whatever holidays you are celebrating, a happy new year, that your 2024 is closing out on a high note and that you're looking forward to 2025. Remember some of these things that I spoke about in today's podcast. Really important to me, huge lessons that I learned this year. And I think that they can change your life and your business and just make you have a happy, healthier lifestyle. I appreciate everyone. I appreciate all of my clients this year, all of my consulting clients, everyone who's invested in a course. Again, if you need anything, reach out to us, hello@moderncraftsman.co or Tyler@trghomeconcepts.com. I'll catch you guys next year.